Okay, let's see what can get with some Uber Eats and DoorDash, and also have a couple other smaller apps running. Began with a half an hour delivery for $14 and a half, going 6 miles. That's a pretty good one there from Raising Cane's. So took that one to begin. Make it a good beginning if you can. Rate for a good order with a good ratio at the beginning may help you psychologically, and you're able to take less mileage per dollar, like if that's all that you get, in the following order or two, to get oneself going. That may be a tip that you could follow in the beginning there. Interesting. Also, a secondary tip or tactic I want to think about here, and it's very important for traffic while one is out. It seems that Uber Eats, if you're really paying attention here, and do so because it could help, if the traffic zone is really heavy or redlined in Google Maps, which is the assistant that I use because the navigation is real accurate versus the Uber Eats one. The Uber Eats gives the option use their app or Google Maps. I use Google Maps. Google Maps will show you those red zones where it's really traffic laden or heavy. And Uber Eats itself gave 31 minutes to take a 6-mile order. If you think about it, and using the highway system, not neighborhood roads also. So if you think about it, it seems like it's accounting for traffic. I haven't heard this discussed, but it's a very important point to note, because that being the case, okay, so I'll take that, and usually I like to stay away from too much where you're just sitting there, to get to your destination. I like to use more of those slower routes, the neighborhood journeys, or, the back roads, this and that. But, I'll take it because it gives 30 minutes, and going 6 miles, it looks like it's accounting for that already. And because the rate is at $14 and a half, that's really a $28, $29 per hour earnings, even with that. Now, if it had said this 6-mile trip is supposed to take you 10 minutes or so, and I know that traffic is using the roadways at 5 to 6 p.m. really heavy on this particular stretch of interstate, then I'm thinking to myself, and I don't have to go very far, the 6 miles or so, but then I'm thinking to myself, it has not accounted for the traffic, and you could be looking at more. But if you're able to think in this, complex way a little bit, you can kind of see if it's being accounted for or not. Again, now the platform is Uber Eats and not DoorDash or something like that. So different platforms work differently, but it's still worth it for a half an hour, and that's why I took it. And now coming back the same direction, I have a 10-mile order for $17, and it's 2 deliveries that'll take around 40 minutes. So I go ahead and do that one. That's a good rate and everything like that, practically 25 an hour if you do some math. And I'm able to finish in that time or so, but yeah, and then they have yeah. So after that, a Costco order for 34 minutes for $14. Again, nice pay on that one to go just 5 miles for 5 units. So I figured, you want to look at not only time, but the units it has. So I could, I know the store layout pretty well. It's just 5 units. I'll go ahead and do that one. Standard bag required, which means you're not going to be, with a heavy pallet of something or something really heavy. But yeah, that went okay. The heaviest thing was a, big 16 or 32 bottles of water. I don't know how many it was, but that certainly went okay and was doable just fine. Here's another dollar per mile that's decent, $18.50 for 6.6 miles, almost 3 for 1. Again, for 35 minutes. Good rate on that one for 2 deliveries. So you have 4 stops, 2 shops, 2 customers. And the first one was to Crumble, a cookie place, and I can't remember the second one, but I took that to a couple of food orders. And they gave me a third one, so I hadn't arrived yet, so I got to go to 3 shops, then 3 customers, but I took it for 1.7 miles more for $6.25. I'll go ahead and pick up some alcohol. Must verify ID. extra 12 minutes or so in delivery, so I got that one at specs, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. My thinking on the issue is I don't really like taking 3 food orders all at once because, I want food to stay moderately warm or cold for the customer, depending on what they ordered. And I have hot bags, cold bags, and the like. But yeah, it makes me feel uncomfortable if I hit 3 or so. But since this one is alcohol, I might end up dropping it that one last, according to how it sends me. And it's only 1.7 miles more. And if alcohol, I take them. For the most part, I don't have many problems, but now I think more critically about it. Like 1.7 miles is different than 10 miles with more pay. Because if the customer doesn't have ID, if something goes wrong and Uber Eats says I need to return the alcohol, I certainly don't want to be driving 5 or 10 miles back without a good amount of pay. And I don't know if they just give $3 or $5 or something dumb like that that's not worth your time. But with 1.7 miles, I'll take that risk for another $6.25. That's the way I'm kind of thinking right now, although I'm still open to, longer mileage if the pay is right on alcohol and it's part of, some other orders and it's busy. It's just that I don't want to be hit with the idea to take something back. With food, you don't take it back. The restaurant wouldn't accept it anyway. So the app will say you usually go ahead and keep the food if something goes wrong. And yeah, in that instance. DoorDash order for 21 minutes or so for $5, 45 cents to go 2.8 miles. I am simply not doing that, especially now when the fuelage is so high at the pump. No. 2.8 miles, I'm looking for 7, 8, $9, somewhere in that range, in the very least. With DoorDash nearby, that's not something I want to be a part of. And then it came in DoorDash Raisin Cane's $7.20, 6.7 miles. Of course, that's a rejection. 6.3 miles for $9. That's a rejection from a sushi place. I'm not even doing that. That pay needs to be more for the mileage. Now I'm looking for more. I mean, it's just with the cost of things right now, at least in this time period. Chick-fil-A, $7.20 for 6.1 miles. That's not something I'm gonna do. Finally got one I'm okay with. Around $8 for 3.2 miles. I'll take that one on a Shanghai Chinese restaurant. So went to that, got that, and that one went A-okay. By telling you also what I'm rejecting on DoorDash, a lot of the $8 for, 3 miles or so, that's not too bad. But if more people reject and watch stuff like this and they don't know any better, and just to earn $5 or $6 or $7, but earn their car wear and tear, their car goes down, or the fuelage costs nowadays, or the time it takes and risk because of you're making 2 stops and they just don't know any better. By more rejections out there, if you start rejecting those things that are lower and you were used to them before, for example, you can help lift the pay for yourself and others. Is just saying that we will not accept these low-paying offers, and the platforms need to do better and recognize that they're just not going to be able to take advantage of people. Because if you give yourself over to being taken advantage of with these low rates and the risk inherent to yourself, they're just going to keep sending you those, or even lower. They may tease you with even lower ones to see how low you'll go. Well, that's ridiculous. And you need to be a little smart out there. And the more people who have some basic intelligence, I know I'm not to insult anyone. I'm not trying to come off like that. But if you have some basic intelligence and can refuse some of this stuff, the more people who vie for themselves and the field this way, other gig workers, and see the low rates that people make, then the higher those rates could potentially go. I did have to end up waiting at 54th Street for this one a little bit because I was kind of close to the restaurant, but a double order, 2 pickups from the 54th and 2 customers who are about 9 miles away, and it pays almost $17, so I'll take that one over 30 minutes. It probably took more than that, maybe up to 40 minutes or so, but it's okay. I mean, it's okay. And then another Uber Eats later to kind of bring me back in the same direction or so, $5.50 to go 3.5 miles. And that's because I just didn't want to drive dead miles to get out of where I was at, which kind of a neighborhood residential area with little restaurants. So I'll just take that little, setback just to get me out of that area. So that one was, 18 minutes or so. Finally ended up with an order just to kind of stay in that area, just call it quits. The last order, $6.12 to go 5.4 miles. Not great or good by any means, really. Just to to come up with just a little bit of extra cash on the way back, or ending the shift for about 20 minutes or so. And that was that. And at the end, I did end up getting an extra tip for the 254th Street deliveries. $16.82 was quoted, so I got $20.25 instead to go that 9 miles or so. So that went okay. What's that, like extra, $3.50 or so? I want to say about no drive-thrus, that is no drive-thrus on pickups for DoorDash, Uber Eats, or whatever platform, because you end up waiting there sometimes way too long. So the stuff that comes in late, and what's the reason for doing that is because the restaurants shut their doors and they lock them. Many restaurants after 9 and 10 p.m., if they're still open, they just lock things up. And then you're in the drive-thru, and you could take 15 minutes or more just at the restaurant waiting on the food. So the pay, I would say, if you're going to work 9 p.m., 10 p.m. or later, the pay in those things needs to be a lot higher, or it's to be avoided, because you're not working for enough. And letting the car go idle or vehicle that you have is really harmful. And you're almost paying for that privilege or that type of working that you're doing. So I would say avoid that. The pay has to be right, number one, or number two, the bonuses that, for example, DoorDash or Uber Eats can offer need to be a lot more for those later hours, or it's to be avoided. I had one where I was going to wait at Panda Express, and it got to be, I was waiting in the drive-thru recently, get to the window, and they're out of a certain ingredient. First of all, I tried the front door that was closed and went drive-thru, waited on 2 cars, took about 15 minutes or so, and by the time I get up there, they're out of a couple of things. It said, you know what, I'm not going to even contact the customer, I'm canceling the order, and I did so. I'm not going to put up with this, I'm tired, and that's where the shift ended. Actually, this shift, and that was the last order, and I just let it go. And I'm not going to get on the phone with support or with anyone to try to clear up that mess. So obviously, you need to make it worth my time, as these platforms, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or whoever, or whatever the platform is, I'm talking to you that you need to make things right there, or guess what? When things go bad, they're really going to go bad in all sorts of directions, because first of all, I'm just not making enough to sit in that. So lesson learned, and avoid late hours. That's the lesson. Point number one has to be very, very good pay. Or point number two, the bonuses to wait around have to be very good, because I've seen bonuses where they offer 6, 7, 8 orders, and if you can get all of those in 3 hours from like 9 to 12 with Uber Eats, they give you supposed bonus money. First of all, it's too slow because the customers are not out at those times so much. And even when you do, you have to end up waiting and driving. So those are just, they need to fix that, or they need to see how drivers, hopefully, don't go after those things, because that's more damaging than anything. So, but some insight here.